Welcome back to our channel on this beautiful day, where we dive deep into the latest dramatic twists and turns of your favorite daytime drama. The stakes have never been higher in Genoa City, and the shockwaves from today's revelations will leave you breathless. Let us unpack the explosive events that are about to change everything. The corporate landscape of Genoa City has transformed into a scorched earth battlefield, with Chancellor Industries serving as the ultimate prize in a devastating war of attrition. Billy Abbott, driven by a blinding arrogance and a desperate need to validate his worth, has accelerated his hostile takeover attempts, leaving a trail of fractured relationships in his wake. His relentless pursuit of power has triggered a fierce internal investigation within his own bloodline. Jack, Ashley, and Tracy Abbott have formed a clandestine alliance, meticulously dismantling Billy's legal claims and unearthing hidden archival documents that threaten to completely nullify his narrative. This mounting pressure from his own family has pushed Billy into a corner, making his actions increasingly erratic and dangerously unpredictable as he fights to maintain his crumbling facade of control. Amidst this suffocating corporate warfare, Lily Winters stands as the formidable shield protecting the legacy of Chancellor Industries. Tasked by a deteriorating Jill Abbott to execute a ruthless ultimatum, Lily bears the immense psychological burden of saving the company from Billy's self-destructive spiral. Her position as Chief Executive Officer requires her to compartmentalize her historical affection for Billy, replacing compassion with a cold, calculated pragmatism. Lily has spent weeks navigating the treacherous waters of corporate espionage, fending off Billy's relentless legal maneuvers while simultaneously managing the internal anxieties of Kane Ashby. The exhaustion is palpable, yet Lily refuses to surrender the empire she has fought so hard to stabilize, setting the stage for an inevitable collision between two unstoppable forces. The tension reached a boiling point during a highly volatile confrontation within the executive suites of Chancellor Industries. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken resentments and broken promises, as Lily and Billy engaged in a fierce battle of wills. Without a single word spoken aloud, the sheer intensity of their body language conveyed a relationship that had mutated from mutual respect into toxic hostility. Billy, feeling the walls closing in from both his family's secret investigation and Lily's unyielding defense, lashed out with unprecedented aggression, making thinly veiled threats regarding the future of the company. Lily stood her ground with unwavering resolve, refusing to be intimidated by his desperate posturing. This explosive encounter marked the definitive end of their civility, leaving a lingering sense of dread in the air. However, the corporate maneuvering abruptly halted when a chilling silence descended upon the Chancellor executive offices. Following that intense confrontation, Lily Winters vanished without a single trace. The initial signs of her disappearance were subtle, yet deeply alarming to her colleagues and family. Her meticulously organized desk was abandoned, her personal belongings left behind, in a manner completely inconsistent with her highly disciplined nature. As hours turned into an agonizing day, the creeping realization that Lily had not merely stepped away, but had been forcibly taken, sent shockwaves of sheer terror throughout Genoa City. The transition from a boardroom power struggle to a literal life-or-death crisis completely shattered the established order, transforming rivalries into a desperate race against time. The arrival of law enforcement immediately shifted the paradigm of the crisis, casting a dark and suspicious shadow over the entire Abbott family. Given the highly publicized and vitriolic nature of his recent interactions with Lily, Billy Abbott instantly became the prime suspect in her abduction. The police meticulously documented his recent aggressive behavior, his public threats regarding the Chancellor takeover, and his desperate state of mind as his corporate plans began to unravel. To the authorities, Billy presented the perfect profile of a man who had finally snapped under immense pressure, crossing the line from corporate sabotage to criminal violence. The circumstantial evidence forming against him was overwhelming, painting a portrait of a man consumed by ambition and stripped of his moral compass. The situation for Billy rapidly deteriorated when investigators unearthed physical evidence that seemed to definitively link him to Lily's disappearance. Meticulously planted clues, designed with an alarming level of precision, were discovered at the scene and traced back to Billy's digital and physical footprint. This fabricated evidence was not the work of an amateur, but rather a sophisticated framing operation intended to ensure Billy would bear the full weight of the legal and public fallout. The sheer perfection of the setup isolated Billy completely, stripping away the benefit of the doubt from even his most staunch defenders. The authorities tightened their net, treating Billy not as a grieving colleague, but as a dangerous predator who had orchestrated a heinous crime to secure his corporate empire. Trapped in a nightmare of his own indirect making, Billy experienced a profound psychological collapse as the reality of his isolation set in. He vehemently denied the accusations, desperately attempting to dismantle the narrative forming against him, but his past history of recklessness worked entirely against his credibility. Billy realized with chilling clarity that his aggressive pursuit of Chancellor Industries had made him the perfect scapegoat for a much darker conspiracy. The tragic irony of his situation was inescapable. In his relentless quest to gain ultimate power and control, he had inadvertently handed his unseen enemies the perfect weapon to destroy his life and his freedom. He found himself entirely alone, fighting a two-front war against the authorities who wanted him caged, and the invisible mastermind who had orchestrated his downfall. As the suspicion heavily settled on Billy, Kane Ashby experienced a devastating emotional transformation. The news of Lily's kidnapping shattered his world, instantly vaporizing his previous internal conflicts regarding Billy and the Chancellor takeover. The man who had recently pleaded for leniency and time on Billy's behalf was entirely consumed by a primal, vengeful desperation. Kane viewed the planted evidence as absolute confirmation of Billy's guilt, redirecting all his corporate anxiety into a relentless, physical hunt for the woman he loved. The polished executive exterior melted away, replaced by a dangerous, unyielding force of nature, willing to cross any legal or moral boundary to bring Lily home safely and ensure the person responsible suffered unimaginable consequences. Leveraging his extensive network of dark alliances and corporate connections, Kane launched an independent, shadow investigation parallel to the official police inquiry. He utilized every resource at his disposal, tapping into security grids, calling in favors from unsavory contacts, and relentlessly tracking down any anomaly in the days leading up to Lily's disappearance. Kane's pursuit was characterized by a terrifying singular focus, leaving a trail of intimidated informants and bypassed protocols. He operated under the absolute conviction that Billy was the architect of this nightmare, and his every waking moment was dedicated to tearing down the Abbott heir's defenses to extract the truth. This relentless crusade highlighted the profound depth of Kane's devotion to Lily, showcasing a man pushed to the absolute brink of his sanity. The ripple effects of the kidnapping violently disrupted the internal dynamics of both the Abbott and Winters families. Jack, Tracy, and Ashley were horrified to witness their clandestine family intervention escalate into a major criminal investigation. The secret alliance they had formed to protect the Abbott legacy was now forced to confront the terrifying possibility that their brother might actually be capable of abduction, or conversely, that he was the victim of a monstrous frame job. The Winters family, already reeling from Devon's recent emotional instability, rallied together in a state of agonizing grief and fury. The corporate war for Chancellor Industries was entirely eclipsed by the human tragedy, forcing bitter rivals to navigate a landscape fraught with suspicion, terror, and the desperate hope for Lily's safe return. The crisis escalated to unprecedented heights, with the arrival of a chilling ransom note, delivered through an encrypted, untraceable channel. However, the contents of the message completely defied expectations. Instead of a straightforward demand for a financial payout, the note was a masterclass in psychological warfare, designed to maximize chaos and inflict maximum emotional damage upon Genoa City's elite. The demands were convoluted, requiring public humiliations, the release of sensitive corporate secrets, and the systematic dismantling of Chancellor infrastructures. It became immediately apparent to the investigators that the kidnapper was not motivated by mere greed, but by a deep-seated, pathological desire to watch the powerful families of Genoa City tear themselves apart from the inside out. This terrifying realization shifted the entire paradigm of the investigation, pointing toward a third-party entity completely disconnected from Billy Abbott's corporate ambitions. The mastermind behind Lily's abduction was operating with a level of malice and strategic brilliance that suggested a deeply personal vendetta. The kidnapper was using the existing volatility of the Chancellor corporate war as a smokescreen, exploiting Billy's aggressive reputation to perfectly execute their framing operation. The true motive was rooted in a historical grievance, a burning desire for retribution against either Lily for her past decisions or Billy for his numerous transgressions. This unknown adversary had studied their targets meticulously, understanding precisely how to manipulate the authorities into doing their destructive work for them. As Kane's shadow investigation intersected with the increasingly baffled police department, a startling anomaly was uncovered in the digital forensics of the ransom note. Hidden deep within the metadata was a digital signature, a ghost in the machine that pointed away from the Abbott family and toward a forgotten chapter of Genoa City's dark history. This surprising clue suggested that the mastermind was someone who had been deeply wronged by the corporate machinations of the past, someone who had waited patiently in the shadows for the perfect moment to strike. The revelation completely exonerated Billy in the eyes of the few who understood the technical data, yet it simultaneously amplified the danger Lily was in. Her captor was not a desperate executive, but a calculated predator with nothing to lose and everything to avenge. The discovery of this digital footprint sent shockwaves through the investigative team, forcing a frantic re-evaluation of every known enemy of the Winters and Abbott families. As Kane analyzed the specific coding of the signature, a horrifying recognition dawned upon him, connecting the kidnapping to a deeply buried secret that Jill Abbott had desperately tried to keep hidden. The realization that Lily was paying the price for a sin she did not commit propelled Kane into a frantic race toward a remote, abandoned industrial sector on the outskirts of the city. He arrived at the dilapidated warehouse just as a massive explosion rocked the foundation, sending plumes of black smoke into the night sky. With the flames rapidly consuming the structure and no sign of Lily, Kane stared into the inferno, realizing that the true war for survival had only just begun.